Hello. Welcome back to the Unfamous Files, and it's just with Shae and Taryn here today.
You could have just said Shae and me.
Yeah, I
Me
know,
and
but
Shae.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like people always introduce with the names. Not that I've really, Jay Shetty always, I would say he says Jay Shetty, but he has an intro that says Jay Shetty for him.
We need Brendan needs to start
the
being
real
the intro
Jay
for us,
Shetty.
so it starts sounding really professional.
Yeah, rather than,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Taz and Shaz, I like that.
That's what we want.
Yeah. So we're back, and it's just the two of us, and we're ready to get into a convo that we've had a lot to say on a lot of times throughout the last 12 months, I would say.
So, yeah, we were kind of having this conversation a lot recently because this time last year we found out some news that kind of led to our pregnancy being earlier than what we're expecting in our life. Like, I think I always planned on starting to try for babies at the end of this year. I feel like I just wanted a bit more time for the business to settle and for myself to tick off a few extra goals with acting and everything like that before we fell pregnant. Taryn, you're kind of nodding too because you're kind of on the same wavelength.
Yeah, definitely on the same wavelength. And I feel like this thing is like, I feel like with our acting and stuff, it's one of those things that every time there was momentum, something's like stopped it. Remember when it was COVID and we just almost got that, movie with Dave Bautista and stuff. And we got put on hold for that. And it was like, everything's happening. And then COVID. And then it was like, oh, and then we got that Marvel audition. Everything happened. And then the next thing, like, it was just like so many times we've had good momentum going. And then something's just completely, the writer's strike after Fuse. And that was so much was happening with that at that time, with meetings and stuff. And then all of that just went away. And then this was another thing where I felt like we were starting to get momentum again with things. And then this news came.
Yeah. So this time last year in March, I'd stopped taking the pill 3 months prior because I was getting hot flushes when I was sleeping. And our mum went through early menopause. So they were like, okay, we just need to tick this off. That's nothing to do with that because obviously that could be an issue. So we just started going off the pill, but I think it might have been that I was on a different kind of pill because the hot flushes started to go. But they still wanted to do the blood test in March just to check all of the levels and everything because obviously we're now in our 30s and you should just get that stuff checked. And then it came back that I had really, really low egg reserve. So what that means is that they can tell in the hormones that, let's say, through your years you have 300 eggs or whatever that's producing every time you have your period. When you get to the age that we were at, a low, considerably being very, very low, and like you need to see someone was like 10, and we was a 1.6. So that was really, really low. So that means every time I was having my period, I was only having like 1 to 2 eggs every cycle, kind of come down. So that was like, and like straight away the GP was like, okay, you need to go see a fertility specialist. And I was like, okay, straight away, Taryn, you need to go off the pill.
Yeah, they said to Shae, like, Shae's like, oh, I have a twin sister. And they said, well, an identical twin sister. And they said it's not 100% that she could, but there's a very high chance that she could be in the same boat. And so then I had to wait 3 months of being off the pill before I got checked. And yeah, I was at a 2.2, I think. So at a similar sort of stage to Shae. And I guess, with this side of IVF and with fertility and looking into fertility stuff, it's not so much the quality of our eggs that could be bad, like a lot of people have issues with, but it's more like there's not many eggs left, so the time frame is pushed more. Yeah. It is like you got to start getting a bit more in a hurry with this than taking your time with it.
There's not many for the poor little spermies to choose from.
No.
When they have each time. So it was kind of like we got advised that if you don't plan on having kids right away, you need to be getting eggs out, basically, and get whatever we can and create the embryos and stuff because
once you have no eggs, you've got no eggs, but if you have them aside, you can still use them.
Yeah, whenever.
So they don't want us to run out of eggs without giving ourselves at least some backups or giving it a try, because then you could miss the boat completely.
And the graph I was given was a scary graph.
It was so scary.
It was like a graph that showed your, all the different ranges of what age you are with the level of eggs you have. And when my little one was all the way down the end, they're like, by the age of 37, girlfriend, there's probably going to be nothing there. So that was like, freaking out and being like, well, we've always pictured having more than one child, like, having 2 kids at least. So a lot of these conversations were so confronting, I guess, to have that we weren't expecting to have. Yeah. And I have a real issue with my choice being taken away from me.
I was literally about to say that, Shae. I was going to say, I don't know about you, but my thing was like, it was the choice being completely taken away from me, being like, this is what you have to do now if you don't want to miss out. And it was like, well, fuck you. I wanted to have kids when I wanted to have kids.
I wanted to start trying when I felt I was ready. Like Bobby was ready to go. You know, he's a little bit older than me, so he was happy whenever. But for me, I was really not prepared to have to start going down that journey. And I was like, but it's okay because I'm just going to get the eggs out. So it's all good and I can still do it when I want to do it because that's what I'm doing. And then reality kind of kicked in. And the first doctor didn't really like tell us that it was actually could have been a lot harder than we were expecting. So we're like, we're going to wait a couple of months, live our best lives. Like it's going to be expensive. Obviously it's IVF, so it's always expensive. Let's settle and do our things and then we can get back to it. And by the time we actually started doing the IVF for the first time, you'd only just found out that you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
And that was 3 months later. And then, we got a real surprise when we went through the first round of IVF. They managed to get 2 eggs out and then neither of them got fertilized, which was just surprising. And because no one warned us that we were going to have that potential. They're like, okay, we've got 2 eggs kind of you're getting out. And then literally what they do with IVF is they put it in a petri dish and they put a whole bunch of sperm around it. So it's literally there. So it was when we got the call from the scientist the next day that neither of them, you just started feeling like there was something wrong with you. It was so stupid.
And I think the worst thing about IVF, Shae, not worst thing, but one of the things that frustrated me most is that they try and not overload you with information because I don't know why they don't want to make you feel stressed. But then I feel like I'm someone who I want all the information. I want to know exactly what I'm going into. I want to know what every process is. Stop explaining it to me in all the big words and just dumb it down and take me through every single step. Yeah. And they don't want people to feel anxious during this time because this is also worse for your eggs. Yeah. So they just don't tell you anything. And you're like, Shae Paul went in there and had no idea that it might not work. Shae was like, this is going to work. This is how it happens. She didn't know that there was any part that where it couldn't maybe work.
80% chance that it gets fertilized.
Yeah.
Once the egg's out. Once they do the process by the scientists, it's 80% chance that egg will get fertilized. So they didn't bother even telling us that there's a 20% chance you wouldn't. But then again, you just assume that it's going to be fine.
Regardless, you still want to know about that 20%. And the fact that Shae didn't know, and then Shae, I remember being in Europe at the time and Shae called me and told me that it didn't work. And I was just so heartbroken for her and so just as shocked as her because they made it. Obviously, they want you to be positive and be like, yeah, it's going to work. But at least just give a little bit of an insight to the fact that it might not work as well. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for me on my side, me then knowing a little bit more what we could be going into, and this may not be as simple as what they're saying it was going to be. Because they basically made out go, look, we're going to do 1 to 2 cycles of egg collection. And we've heard of a lot of our friends who've done the egg collection and gotten plenty of eggs out. Most people drop around at least 40 eggs a cycle. So they're like, you're going to get 2 rounds. That will give you 4 to 5 eggs, and that'll be plenty for you to at least have 1 baby. Yeah. That was what we were told. And then the fact that Shae, went into it and they didn't say that you might not get any that work. That was very confronting and shocking for both of us.
Felt so blindsided. So then we decided we went back to the specialist and they were talking about the next things we're going to try, like ICSI and stuff like that, which is a bit more direct into the egg or anyway, don't really need to worry about the technical terms. But then Taryn, decided we're going to wait till we have our Europe trip.
Start trying naturally
and just see, take the pressure off. And then Taryn started then Tay was over to Taryn to start her needles and all the things. Yeah. Which the needles aren't fun either. They're probably one of the hardest things that you go through during that period is, especially if you've ever been afraid of needles. Taryn and I never love needles. So just having to do that to yourself or you have your partner do it to you and you're like, well, they're not a professional. It's just, you think you're going to be fine, and then as you come to it, and you freak out.
Yeah, Shae said that to me the first time Bobby went and did a needle in her, and she was like, I was just so scared because it was Bobby putting a needle to me, not a doctor, not a nurse. I was like, yeah, that's going to be fine. Shae's worse with needles than I am. And then when I started, she started coming at me with it. I was like, bro, take 5 steps back. You're not coming at me with that thing. Yeah. Absolutely not. You've never pushed this into someone before. You don't know how hard you have to push, you know how far. Because they're proper syringes. They don't look like an EpiPen. They're a proper long syringe that you have to put in. And Shae and I are quite small people, usually, not right now while we're pregnant, but we're usually quite small people. So there's not a lot of fat there really to push that needle in. So we did get quite bruised and quite sore from doing the needles. And I guess when we started our journey, again, they told us it's, you know, it's about the quality more over the quantity of eggs. But I was going into it a bit more really like knowing what could happen after seeing what happened with Shae and Bobby. And we went through our journey and we tried the first time. And unfortunately, I'm not someone to get cysts, but I ended up with cysts all over my ovaries, and all the cysts were taking all of the medicine, and my hormone levels weren't going what they were supposed to be going. So I ended up having to do extra needles a day. So I was doing 3 needles a day for almost 2 weeks. And I really think it was just too much for my body to handle. I think that's what happened with that first one. I was like, my body didn't like all of this going into me. And my poor little eggs didn't end up growing because the cysts were
stealing everything.
The cysts were 3 times the size of it by the end of the thing. And they
so
said,
what they ended up doing, they burst the cysts.
They had to, yeah. So I had 2 massive cysts, and then I had all little cysts all over, and they just said we have to pull the trigger early. Burst the cysts and just flush it all out and try again next time. So we did that, and I was like, you know, I was pretty, again, because I felt a bit more prepared after what happened with Shae and Bobby. Pretty like, yep, okay, we're just going to try again. This is just a freak thing. They said it probably won't happen again. You don't have endometriosis. You've never had cysts before regularly. So give your body a hot second, but when you're ovulating, like when you're about to have your cycle again, and this was the tricky thing with me, I haven't been getting my cycle. So I hadn't been getting my period for a while, and they weren't sure why. And once they figured out, they were tracking my cycle, and then they realized that, oh, wait a second, for this next cycle, you don't actually ovulate naturally, which means that my eggs don't actually drop anymore. So regardless, like we were going to have to try again so they could make the eggs drop. So we tried again, and it was just unfortunate that the second time round we only got 1 egg. So they got 1 big egg, but like they said, there's only 50% chance of that egg surviving the retrieval, and do you really want to pay $16,000 for something that might not even survive? And they just didn't see the value in it. They didn't want me to keep putting me through the rest of the treatment. Again, I had to end up doing the 3 needles. I don't know why that kept happening to me. It was really annoying. So I was just like, okay. And so that one had to get cancelled early too. And then I said, well, I'm not going to keep going around in the circle. I just said to my nurses and my doctor, I said, we have to try something different. Yeah. I said, I'm not doing this again, putting my body through all of this again. If we don't try something different, it's just crazy to me. So they were like, I said, but I can't start trying like Shae and Bobby naturally. And by this point,
it was
Shae and Bobby had fallen pregnant.
Yeah, I'd fallen pregnant. Well, I'd found out I was pregnant in Europe first, and then we had a chemical pregnancy. So we lost that baby, but that was, even though that was heartbreaking, obviously, because again, you started going, what the fuck is wrong with my eggs? Something. But even though that was heartbreaking, everything, my ChatGPT doctor, because obviously we're in Europe. So when this is happening, we're like, fuck, I'm pregnant one day, 2 days later, we're not. The ChatGPT doctor was like, it's actually a good sign, like, you know, having the miscarriage, because it's showing that you it's further along than what you did the last time through the IVF, basically. Like that it did get fertilized, it just didn't go past that.
And I think it's important to look at these positives when you're going through something like this. Every time there's a little bit of a positive, it puts you in a better mind frame.
So even though it was tough, it was like, well, we're lucky we're in Europe, so we had a lot of distractions to kind of get through it. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to trust my ChatGPT doctor and go, I got further last time. Maybe my body's just trying to work out what it's trying to do. And then 4 weeks later, I was pregnant again with this baby that I have. So we went from not working at IVF at all, having really minimal eggs, to falling pregnant twice naturally.
Super quickly.
Really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly. So that was a bit of a roller coaster.
And I think that's why I was just like, okay, egg retrieval isn't for us as much as I'd love it to be, to have those backups there just in case we ran out of time to have a second baby or whatever it was. But again, time's still ticking. Our eggs are running low. We don't know how quickly they're going. So I wasn't willing to really wait as well. So I said to them, but I want to try something different. I said, unfortunately, I can't just try naturally. Like my sister's just fallen pregnant because I don't ovulate. Is there something else we can do? And then thank God, what you don't know before you go through IVF and fertility issues is there's 5 billion different ways to do it. Like
they've got everything up their sleeves.
Literally, the egg retrieval is the most, popular and the most common, but there is so many different ways. And they said, well, let's do ovulation induction, which is basically you go through the needles again just to make the eggs nice and juicy. and then you pull what they call the trigger, and it's a big trigger needle, and that makes you ovulate, and then you have sex as much as you can for 2 days straight.
Lucky
Stu loved that. By the end of it, he's going, stop making me, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, you put that baby in me. We don't have a choice. We're doing this. Which then I ended up actually falling pregnant at Shae's wedding, which was exciting. Woo! But the third one was such a mix of emotions, because by that point, by the first two, I'd put over 40 needles into my body before the blood tests you have every 2 days when you're going through the IVF. And although the needles affected me, it wasn't until the third one that I was like, fuck, I really don't want to do this again. But because we were trying something different, I was feeling a little bit more optimistic about the whole situation. And that's the only thing you can do, I feel, for anyone going through fertility issues, is you have to find ways to stay positive, because you're never going to fall pregnant if you're so stressed about it. And I know it's so much easier said than done. But I think given the fact that Shae and I meditate every day, that we've really changed. I have read so many self-help books. It's ridiculous. Like, I read so many of them. And I truly think it's that kind of stuff that helped me stay positive and do 3 back-to-back IVFs without a break. Like, I went straight back into I went into a cycle every next cycle. I went into another one. Maybe it wouldn't have continued that way if we still hadn't fallen pregnant, but at that stage I was pretty determined and pretty so we then fell pregnant on Shae's birthday at Shae's wedding, which was amazing. After like 65 needles, I think I put it together. I'm really happy not to have to go back there just yet until we have a second baby. And
I feel like we're super competitive as well. We're super competitive as well. Like, it was like the minute that I was like getting past that miscarriage, I was like, we're going again. We're trying again. Like you said, you're just like, I think it is sometimes about, mostly like they do say, it's about mindset and everything like that. But it's easier said than done. Yeah. You obviously got to have a strong support system like Bobby and Stu, who can keep you uplifted and keep you going. Like, it's going to happen for us. This is gonna work.
This is just the way we've got to do it.
It's just the way it's going to do it. A lot of people go through issues. And the more you talk about it,
the more you realize so many people
go through issues, and it's so fine. Like, everyone's journey is different. And you know what, just so everyone out there, if you've been trying for like a year or something, fertility specialists do say it takes, for even people without any kind of issues, a lot of the time up to a year, especially at this age, like, to then fall pregnant. So
that's considered completely normal.
That's considered completely normal. I think that's the important thing to remember. And even though this was completely unexpected for both of us, we weren't expecting to ever have issues, because our mum and our sister fell pregnant like that. I know a lot younger, but they fell pregnant really, really easily. So
again, with us, it was a timing thing more than anything. We couldn't try for that year to fall pregnant, because we don't know how fast those eggs are going. But Shae, once we got pregnant, like once we both fell pregnant and stuff, I was like, oh, happy, happy, happy. And then all of a sudden I had the realization, was like, fuck. I was like, we're going to have to put everything on pause.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I'd probably say is, if you're going on your fertility journey, like, and obviously the main thing is to be positive and keep having fun and doing things to distract you, I think. Is that what you're going to say? Kind
of similar, because I actually spoke to my nurse about this, and I was just like, this last time around, because I was like, I need to try something different. And I felt like the second time around, I was trying so hard to make sure everything was perfect and make sure I was exercising, but not exercising too much, doing this and doing that. And I was like, really trying to watch what I ate and blah, blah, blah. I think I was too over-calculating and not just enjoying myself as I usually would. And I said to her, after this cycle, do I just go about my life as usual, do my 10K runs that I love doing, even though it says you're not supposed to when you're pregnant, do this, do that, still go out with my friends, still have and she was like, yes. She was like, do the things that make you happy.
Yeah, or if you're feeling stressed, go on a holiday or something like that. But I also would say, if you are heading into your 30s or after 30, just go get a little checkup done. That's my biggest one.
Oh my God, Mum told us when we were 28, girls.
Yeah, between 25 and 28.
25 and 28, she was like, girls, I went through early menopause. You need to go get your eggs checked. We're like, Mum, we're fine. Then 30 hit and she goes, guys, you need to go get your eggs checked. We're like, we're fine. 33 hits. Shae, thank God, Shae went to get checked up just because of those random sweats. Because realistically, in 12 months' time, we could have missed the boat completely. We could have missed the boat completely.
So even if you don't have a family history or anything like that, because the one thing they do say is, particularly about egg reserve and having it dropping, there's no actual testing around it. They don't
how fast it happens.
They don't get funding to find out why that's the reason. There's no reasoning behind it, so you don't ever get answers, which is annoying in itself. But That's my biggest advice. Apart from if you're in your fertility journey and having fun and staying calm and meditating and all the things, just go get checked for your own peace of mind.
Yep.
Be prepared. That's all you can be. And yeah, basically that's it. And then you can have babies like we're having together.
And it will all work out. Yay. Now we're doing our
out.
little twinny thing. And guys, that's why it all happened around the same time. Those of you who think we
Yeah.
freakishly told our partners we had to have babies at the same time, it was a happy
Medical.
coincidence that the universe made us
Yeah.
have babies at the same time.
But it's always been a dream of
It's
ours.
been a dream.
So it
So
was lucky.
in the end, it worked out for the better.
Yay.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time on the Unfamous Files.
Bye.